We should be all set to go.
All right.
Every day, for 2 years.
I call to order the town of Frisco, August or September 2nd, 2021. Planning Commission. Cheryl, will you take roll, please?
Commissioner Withrow,
Here.
Commissioner Franken,
Here.
Commissioner Lesmes, Commissioner Scupian,
Here.
Commissioner Tain,
Here.
Commissioner Stabile,
Here.
Commissioner Gleason is absent.
Thank you so much. Cheryl distributed the meeting minutes from June 17th.
I move them.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, we will move on to agenda item number 1. Oh, I'm sorry. It's not a practice. I will open the floor at this time to public comment. If you are watching this online, you can raise your hand. Is there any public comment for items that are not on tonight's agenda? Now is your time to speak. See none. Any on your end? From online, Katie or Cheryl? Great. We will close the public comment portion of the meeting and move on to agenda item number 1, which is planning file number MAJ-21-004, a public hearing of the major site plan application for a proposed multifamily project located at 619 Granite Street, lots 18 through 24, block 12, Frisco Town Subdivision, applicant Studio Architecture, representing the town of Frisco and the Colorado Department of Transportation. I will turn it over to Katie.
Yeah, let me just pull up staff report. Got some images for you guys. As a reminder for everybody to speak into the mic, and Andy, maybe just let us know if you cannot hear people. Maybe interject even to let us know if you're having trouble hearing what anybody says from the your side of everything. Okay,
Yeah, I can hear you. I just turned you way up, but I can hear you.
great, thank you. Okay, so as you saw in the staff report, Studio Architecture is the applicant who is representing the town of Frisco and CDOT. There are 2 structures proposed at this lot with a total of 22 units, a combination of studio, 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom units. In the staff report, we did reference the background of the project, including 2 town council meetings that the applicant attended to get direction on the proposed project. So what you have before you is what the town council provided positive feedback on in the direction that they asked the applicant to go in. The community plan was referenced in the staff report with regards to inclusive community, thriving economy, and sustainable environment. The central core was addressed with all requirements being complied with. For setbacks, Granite Street was chosen to be the front of setback. And then all setbacks were complied with. You may remember that at time of sketch plan, some of the 3rd floor step backs were not complied with. That has been addressed, and all of the step backs are now in compliance. Density is allowed through the density bonus requirements that is going to be utilized. And with regards to accessory dwelling units and density bonus requirements, this property, based on the size of it and the central core zoning, allows 9 units by right. The applicant is proposing a total of 22. So 7 of the 22 units will be required to have our town deed restricted covenant on it. That is the one that has 100% AMI, and the person who lives, the occupant must live or work within Summit County for at least 30 hours a week. The other units, all the market rate and the matching bonus units, will be workforce housing according to the applicant. They are still working out the details, but they are not required to provide details at this time of how they're going to operate those units. What the planning commission needs to ensure of is that the 7 bonus units, or the 7 deed restricted units are in compliance. The applicant did provide us matching bonus units, so we could check each bonus unit has to be within 15% of the same size as a matching deed restricted unit. So staff went through and checked those numbers, so all the requirements are complied with that the code does require. Running through the staff report a little bit more, we did put in a special condition that you've seen with other projects, where because this property contains lots 18 through 24 of block 12, there's basically old lot lines that run through it. So we did suggest a condition that the applicant is required to submit a plat to vacate the lot lines. That's our new standard that we are requiring of all projects that are on more than one existing town lot. And that was a suggested condition in your staff report. The drainage plan has been reviewed by the town engineer and Public Works, and they gave their consent to it. Access is proposed, as you saw in the plans, off of the alley. The driveway width does exceed the maximum width allowed by the Frisco street standards, which are regulated by the town of Frisco's Public Works Department. They did say that they would support a waiver because it allows the trash and recycling off of the alley, which is an ideal planning place to put it. So a waiver is going to be required for the access in from an alley, along with the driveway width exceeding the maximum for an entrance. In addition to that, a right-of-way permit will be required from Town of Frisco Public Works. So because of those waivers and that permit, we did suggest a special condition that the requirements of Public Works are complied with if the project is approved. At this point, as you know, the town has recently undertaken a complete streets project, and that will kind of take into ideas of design for including not just for vehicles, but for pedestrians. So at this time, the town has asked the applicant to show the minimum 6-foot sidewalk adjacent to the South 7th Avenue and Granite Street property lines, and to connect internal walkways. Staff has noted that if that plan happens to have some good ideas that with the timing can work out before this is finished in construction, we may suggest other things, but they would be to the benefit of the town and the public and the applicant. But as submitted right now, it's what town staff did request. We did receive a traffic study, which was referenced in your staff report. And then the other part I wanted to get into a few details on are the residential development standards. So as a reminder, at the May 20th sketch plan meeting, commissioners liked how the project was overall, but they did want the architecture to have some modifications. Specifically, the ridge lines needed to be broken up. There needed to be more material accents, and it was requested that the bulk plane encroachments be reduced. So in the staff report, and I'll put up on the screen here, you can see that some different images were put in to show the planning commissioners what the changes were made, so you can see how they were addressed. The same goes for a bulk plane, and the applicant did take the planning commissioner's feedback, and they did reduce the bulk plane. One second. And I can go to more pictures if you would like me to. But basically you can see on here that they still have bulk plane encroachments, but they have reduced, especially on some of the, sorry. For example, the south elevation of the west building was dramatically reduced based on comments that the planning commission provided. So as a reminder for you, the planning commission can find that bulk plane encroachments up to 350 cubic feet are okay if they provide substantial architectural relief and they advance the intent of the section of code. The amount that's being proposed is approximately 255 cubic feet, and that is referenced in your staff report, and it is included in the findings that are suggested by staff. And then the last part of residential development standards to review with you are the proposed exterior colors are earth tones, including grays and browns. The applicant had modified the proposed white color. They had originally proposed pure white as sketch plan, and that has been amended to be eider white at this time. And then wrapping up some information in the staff report, parking, snow storage, waste, the dumpster and lighting are all in compliance with the town code. And landscaping is the one other outstanding item that town staff wanted to reference. As you saw in the staff report, the landscape plan does not comply with plant sizes, species diversity, and water conservation. We did suggest a special condition that a revised landscape plan showing full compliance with the code be submitted prior to issuance of a building permit. So with that, as you saw in the staff report, staff does recommend approval with suggested findings and conditions. And the applicant has a few different people here who are going to be speaking when you have questions and addressing the planning commission. The primary one will be Chris Russell, who is here present in the audience.
Great. Thank you so much, Katie. Questions for staff? Ira, do you have any questions for Katie?
As I read it, it's a rental project, right? 22 rental units.
Correct.
Is there any legalese that keeps them as rental in perpetuity? And I know you said that some of them are bonus units, I'll use that word, and some of them are by right.
Yep.
So, and then as the accessory addition to that question, does the scale as to how they regulate the rents, does that come under our purview, or is that anywhere mentioned so that we
It
just
does
know?
not come under the planning commission's purview. Good question. The only thing that's under your purview is related to the how the rent units will be rented is to ensure that 7 of them meet the covenant. That's the town covenant.
So now you're making me do math. So that leaves 15 more units, 7 plus 22. So the other 15, are we assured that they're rental in perpetuity?
You cannot be insured because it's not required by town code. But CDOT, I'll let the applicant speak a little more to this too. I mean, I believe that CDOT and the town of Frisco is very focused on providing housing for locals, and that is the intent of the project.
I mean, Chris, my soapbox is rentals, rentals, rentals. I mean, that is what we're missing in the equation of our properties in terms of privately owned property. There's just not enough apartments, period.
Correct, but we can't require it,
You know,
so.
I'm gonna take that up elsewhere. Thank you.
Good clarification, though.
Can I just, sorry, I'm out of order. Can we go this way? I just want to, I want to add to that, that this project has sort of been pitched to the community as what the town is doing for workforce housing. And so as I don't remember it being so front and center at the sketch plan that maybe this was going to be something different.
Oh, I don't think it is. It's definitely gonna be workforce housing. And I'll let the applicant speak to it more. They just don't have the fine tuning of what exactly the rental rates will be at this point in time and things like that.
Yeah, but why not? And like
I'll let the
also,
applicant speak to that.
but I guess I want to hear the background from the staff perspective as to, because mostly because I don't remember.
Mhm.
Like, I thought that the town was co-applicant, first of all, and that we were going to be subsidizing this project, right?
Correct, so, and this came up at sketch plan a little bit, where it's a little bit confusing, where we have town staff who have been on weekly meetings with
Right.
CDOT and studio
That's you guys.
architecture. And then myself as the planner is looking at it as I would normal applications. So I don't have, I've been kept out of the inner workings of the contracts and things like that, because it's not something that my position would ever do with a private developer.
Sure.
So that's why I want the applicant to address more of the history and the background of
Okay.
where they've been at with those meetings.
Well, so who is the staff that's been attending those meetings?
Susan Lee and
Oh.
Eva have both been on it, and Don Reimer, even though he's absent tonight.
So you guys could give me a little bit of
When you get to
background.
the applicant, correct?
But that's staff.
We'll get there.
Okay, they're being represented as the applicant, right?
Okay.
Not as staff.
Correct. Sorry, it's a little confusing,
Yes. Totally confusing.
but we
That's
just,
okay.
we want to kind of keep our role as reviewers separate from the role who's been on the development side of it.
Okay,
You have other questions
no,
for staff? You have questions for staff?
I do. I continue to be troubled by the same thing, which is,
Talk into the microphone.
I continue to be troubled by the same thing, which is this lot would hold seven dwelling units. And we're approving a whole project. And we're approving a project that far, far exceeds what we would do anywhere else in town. So why can't a condition be that all the units be deed restricted workforce housing? Because if this project came to me from any developer in town as a normal piece, I'd say no to it.
But what parts of the code would you say no to?
It's over densifying a piece of property. So I wouldn't approve, I mean, I'd vote against any project that came forward like this from any private developer.
But I think,
Because the density is too much for this property unless it has a specific purpose, and that specific purpose is workforce housing. And then we're talking about not deed restricting. We're talking about not deed restricting most of the units.
Let me stop you for a second.
I'll let
So
Bill-
I'm trying to ask why that is. Why can't we?
Because
Because it is a question, so it's a why question.
Okay, so we'll have Bill. It looks like Bill's gonna help out with this one.
So I would say the short answer is it's not within your legal purview. The project, like any other project, has to be reviewed on the criteria and standards of the code. So the code allows density bonus. There are some criteria in there. So if you feel the project does not meet those density bonus criteria, you can deny the project. It does not give you the discretion to alter the ownership scheme, whether it's rental, private owner, rented by a business, subdivided as condominiums, kept as a single property. None of those things are within your purview.
So to follow up, Bill, could somebody put 10 more units on this property as long as they, I mean, is there no limit to what the density bonus is?
The limit to the density bonus is compliance with all the other development standards. So someone could propose 1,000 units, but they're not gonna be able to physically fit it on the property because they have to meet parking. They have to meet building height. They have to meet setbacks. They have to meet lot coverage, bulk plane, landscaping, on and on and on down the list. So there is no cap on density bonus in our town code. And that's intentional because it's an incentive to try to get workforce housing. So that if you look at other projects, literally just down the street from this, you look at Town Center condos a block away. I believe the allowed density for that property was 6 units. They built 18 at the end of the day. With the exchange being, they got increased density. However, the town got 6 deed restricted units out of that property that otherwise would never have been a workforce housing opportunity. Similar numbers at condos off Main. And I think there's a property on West Main where we had, I want to say 1 or 2 density units. So current code, there is no bulk plane, or excuse me, no density bonus cap.
But that doesn't prevent me from saying that I'd vote against the project because it has bulk plane encroachments that it might not have if it didn't have all these extra units in it.
any other questions for staff?
I'm gonna stop for a minute.
Questions for staff?
Katie, you said that they're gonna work on a revised landscape plan because it didn't meet something. So can you give a little bit more insight into that?
So essentially, in our code, we require a certain breakdown of plant sizes, for example, based on the amount of deciduous trees we require, a certain amount have to be a certain caliber. They're just not meeting the right calipers that we require. They also don't have enough species variety, diversity, so they just need to add another type of tree that will work and grow in the.
Okay,
this
thank you.
environment, yeah. We don't see any problem with what they have to modify, it's just doing it.
You've started. We will move to Andy. Questions for staff?
No, I'm all set. Thanks, Kelsey.
I have no questions for you either. Thank you for the presentation, Katie. we will move on to, Chris, are you presenting?
Everybody.
Okay.
And I know this is very hard because we've all been acting in different roles, but we're doing our best. We are really excited to be here presenting final site plan review for this project. The design that you see is been months in the making, collaboration with town staff, town council, CDOT, as well as the design team led by Studio Architecture. We've been working so hard because we really want to be able to deliver 22 units of rental workforce housing to the community. So we are committed, the town is committed, town council is committed, CDOT is committed to making sure that all of those are rental workforce housing. As Katie mentioned, 7 of them are required to be deed restricted using the town's restrictive covenant. We're just still working out what types of covenant would be placed on the remaining units. It may be the town's restrictive covenant. It may be something stronger. It may be a combination of the two. Right now, CDOT has, and I'm going to let Aaron speak to this in a second, but they have also their own goals in terms of affordability that they're trying to meet for their workforce. So the main goals that we kind of collectively established for this project were to maximize the number of workforce housing units that we're able to accommodate, to ensure high quality livability for the residents, maintain that affordability, and to deliver an energy efficient, sustainable product that meets not only our town code standards, but also CDOT's LEED Gold standards. So we've been moving forward with those goals in mind, and both CDOT and town council aimed to meet those goals by working within the town code requirements. So as opposed to trying to rewrite the code, we wanted to work within the town code requirements and meet all of those town requirements so that we could get this project designed, approved, and built. That was our #1 goal. So we've been guiding and facilitating the design process. We feel like it fits well within the community fabric, both in scale as well as character of the architecture, and especially in terms of livability. There's a lot of work that went into making sure there is storage and there is space and there is comfortable living situations for all the people that will occupy this building. The roof forms, the human scaled architecture, the street facing entrances off of both 7th and Granite, we really feel that fits within the larger context of the Frisco community. So we're really happy to be here, like I said, to be at this final site plan review step. I also wanted to take a second because we're in person. I don't know if you guys have ever met Eva Henson. She is our housing coordinator. She started at the beginning of March last year. So we've been remote working, but she is kind of she's responsible for all things housing these days. So that's both affordable housing as well as STR. So she's got a big plate, but she's been acting as the project manager for this project the past 6-8 months now. And I also have Erin Lucerno with CDOT. She's with CDOT Property Management. She's also an architect with CDOT. And I was hoping that you could speak a little bit to CDOT's perspective on the project and give us, we haven't had a chance to, I guess, hear from CDOT yet, just because everything's been virtual. So I was gonna let Erin take a minute and then we'll turn it over to Chris for the architecture.
And thank you, commissioners, for taking the time this evening. It is nice to be here in person and take these off so I don't fog myself up. So yes, CDOT has owned this parcel for many years. It has been kind of a sore spot for the town, I'm sure, for many years. But really since 2017, CDOT was starting to look at housing studies and was looking at that parcel and how we could convert that parcel into affordable housing for CDOT. We have an incredibly hard time filling positions along I-70 and especially in Summit County. Not just because of the pay, but there's no rental housing, as you guys all know. There is no housing to be had, let alone with our pay stipends and things that we're doing hard to fill. We just can't attract and keep people here. So this is really important for CDOT. Affordable housing is incredibly important for the governor. We are looking at this across the state to identify places where we can start doing more affordable workforce housing. for state employees and to help, bring more vibrancy to our communities. So that's just something that is part of why we have been talking with the town for 4 years, and it took us at least a year and a half to get the contract into place. And we are going through, what we have in an agreement is to get to an 80% design. We haven't actually finalized the final agreement to construction. That's part of why we don't know exactly what AMIs are going to be for these and how it's all going to be deeded out. We haven't gotten that agreement, and agreements take a long time to get put into place when you're working with the state. But the commitment, I will say the commitment from the state is there for it to be workforce housing in perpetuity and to be rental in perpetuity. I mean, that is very important for us. And I think it's very important for the town. So can we tell you exactly what that mix is right now? No, but those are our commitments. So we've been working really hard. Chris has done a great job. His team has done a great job on designing. I think, looking at the before and after, I think it's a very attractive building especially when we're talking about tight budgets for affordable housing. So I think it looks great personally for whatever that's worth. And I hope that you guys will support that. If you have any questions for me, I'm here to help. Thanks. Thank you. And I'll let Chris really dive into it.
Come on up, Chris. I'm gonna try to get you. There we are. And then you can just drive like that.
All right, thank you. I'm happy to be in front of you in person today and representing, and I know you can't tell right now, but I'm going to try and smile with my eyes so you can't see my face. But let me know if you can't hear me. But just to be representing the town and CDOT to present this project to you again, I'm really proud of the process that we've had, the work that we've done with them, and the work that we've done with you, the comments that we've received from you as well. There's not a whole heck of a lot for me, more for me to say. Katie, I think you did a great job summarizing the project and showing the background in the staff report. Eva, Susan, I think you guys did a great job introducing the project as well, and Aaron from CDOT's perspective as well. So I get the fun job. I get to, play cleanup, back cleanup here and talk about the fun architecture. But what I will do is kind of dive a little deeper into the efforts that were made since our last meeting with you guys, as I think, Katie, you did a great job in your staff report of showing where we were and where we are now, based on comments, based on the collaborative efforts of this entire team. So what we did over the past month or so since we met with you, we toiled the whole design team. This was the town of Frisco, this was CDOT, this was the studio group as well. And I'm fogging up now too. We toiled with the ways to integrate comments from you guys in a good way, right? How do we integrate these comments? How do we improve the building, the architecture based on those comments to really balance the things that were already talked about? Code compliance, the vision of the town staff, the vision of town council, the vision of you guys as plan commissioners, the vision of Frisco as well as CDOT as the owners. So that's what we've been working on. And I think, we're all really excited to present this project to you, as I think you can see up on screen, what an exciting project it will be for the town, architecturally speaking, and to deliver a use that I think is much needed, that everybody knows about for housing. Take a step back and just take a look at this site. It flips, okay. So you can see it here. It's highlighted in the middle. I promise it's a little hard to see there. But a lot of what plays into the power of this project is such an amazing site for this. There's access to amenities, retail amenities, recreational amenities, religious amenities. It's in downtown. It's close to the highway for the CDOT employees. There's a lot of great access there. And it's going to be integral to what makes Frisco such a great place. The site plan, I know, we've talked about the technicalities of this and, quite honestly, not a lot of that has changed since we last met with you guys. As Katie mentioned and Susan mentioned, there's two buildings, one facing Granite, one facing 7th Ave. There's a Paseo we don't talk about a lot that kind of bifurcates both of the buildings, and that allows permeability and walkability to the public into this site, which is, I know, part of the vision of the town code. There's 11 buildings per building, so 22 total. We've already discussed that. And the mix is 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, and studio. So there's a good mix of opportunity there for differentiated units. I know this came up as a comment last time. What's the accessibility look like in this building? The ground floor units are all accessible. All of the buildings are type B accessible. And the unit on the east side of the west building is a type A accessible unit. What that means, I'm not sure if you know what that means, but that's a higher accessibility that's required by code to deliver that product as well. There's 33 parking spaces with a required 4 guest spaces on site. The EV ready and EV capable parking spaces will be provided per code. And correct me if I'm wrong here, but that's 2 EV ready spaces, which means it's ready to plug and play. And the capable spaces, 7 of them conduit will be run to them, ready to run the wire. 31 of the 33 spaces are covered by 2 carports. I know we discussed this last time, but it's unique to this area, these carports. They play a very important role in the ability for this project to reach higher densities than we could accomplish without them. And I can dive into more of that a little bit later if you want me to. They also provide a level of protection from the elements, which increases the livability of this project for the tenants, which is, again, one of the big goals for CDOT and the town of Frisco. One of the main goals, as we mentioned, was sustainability. And this is something we looked at the entire process of this project. And I know this came up during our last meeting with you at minor site plan. We presented to you guys the carports, and we identified those as, especially carport A, which it's hard to read here, but it's in the northwest corner of the site, as being a great place to put photovoltaics with the access to the sun. And you guys rightfully asked, because we didn't have these solar studies here, well, let's prove it, right? Let's take a look and see if it's actually going to be accessible for photovoltaics. So this is what that slide shows. In the bottom, that's December. Those are the worst part of shadowing. As you can see, right at 10 a.m., which is on the bottom left, it's slightly covered, but throughout the rest of the day and the rest of the year, that will receive great solar access. And just because I'm going too deep into PV here, the photovoltaics will also be raised another couple feet off of the PV, which will increase their access there.
Off the roof. you mean? Raised a couple feet off the roof.
Correct.
You said off the PV.
We're just going to stack them.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. No,
here.
thank you. Thank you for the clarification. You're right. A couple of feet off of the roof. 2 feet, right, per town code. Yep. Yeah. Thank you for catching that. And just as a side note, we've talked about PV in all of our, weekly meetings, how to slope these roofs. There's a lot that goes into that and a lot of thought that has gone into this. So, I'm happy to dive deeper into that if you guys want some background there.
Can I ask a PV question? Yeah. So the electricity collected off of that carport, that's going to be piped into the general meter area?
How that works, there's an extra in the electricity one line diagram. That's a separate meter for that. So how that's going to work, we're still talking with Excel. We've been talking with Excel for months now about how the best way to do that. There's ways to do it, and we're still in discussions here where we might receive some credits and some lower utility fees, I guess, if we just run the electric vehicle chargers from a meter. It dives really deep into a lot
does
smarter
dive
than I.
deep, and if I had a recommendation, the credits they give you or us are wholesale. And if you're using it to charge vehicles, that's retail. I mean, you're getting first crack at a real electricity.
Sure, and that's something that I think ownership, needs to talk about, how we meter these and how we,
Okay.
how they do it in the future. That's a great question. Something we've been asking for months. Yep, thank you. Good question. Some site diagrams here. This just, I just wanted to quickly touch base here. We've done everything to tie this back and support the town code. As Katie mentioned, we've respected the setbacks on the third floor, even in the middle of the design process. But these diagrams show snow storage and building height that we do comply with a lot of those. So another main goal is to comply with as much of the town code as possible. Floor plans here, not a lot. I don't want to be too redundant here, but it shows the mixture of the 1 beds, 2 beds on the ground floors, and then the third floor where the setback is. As you can see, those are reduced because of that setback, and those become your studio units. Something to note here that these are walk-up flats, a little bit unique of a housing type. There's no elevator or long internal corridors, and that's again to focus on affordability. You don't have to pay for those elevators, and you don't have to manage that common space and pay for it and heat it. Again, floor plans, I'm going to skip over these. Let me know if you need to come, if you want me to come back to those. Carports, quickly to touch on these and some of the design that went in here. Low slope roofs to minimize the mass and maximize the snow retention. There was a lot of conversation about the snow and its impact off of these roofs. The low slope will allow the snow to slowly melt, to retain the snow on the roof and slowly melt into the heated gutters and downspouts. And those are connected directly to the below grade storm sewer. So that will divert that as much as possible so that it doesn't become an ice rink in there. Again, carports, thing to notice here, I know Katie touched on it in her report. In the knuckle of carport A is the bike parking, where all of the long-term secured bike parking will be. I believe it's 28 spots there. A great tenant amenity. Elevations, we talked about these. I'm going to go right to the pretty pictures here, as I think these do a great job, and I can back up if you want me to at any time. The building images, I think this is where it gets real exciting for us, at least for me, because architecture and design there, it's kind of obvious. This shows the new look and feel of the architecture, based on the commission's previous comments. A lot has changed from what we presented during the minor site plan. Katie, again, those were great diagrams before and after. I'll dive a little bit more into those. We've eliminated the pure white color, and these were all comments from staff or from the commissioner or the commission. We eliminated the pure white color to an off-white color. We didn't just downplay the color, we also reduced the amount of that off-white accent color. So a lot of that is gone away. We've also darkened all of the colors. So I think you see around the board, the colors are darkened as well. We've reduced the amount of gable roofs. One of the comments was gable, 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 marching down the street. And so what we did was we implemented some shed roofs as well to provide a more unique and modern feel to the facade and minimize the redundancy of those gable gables. We've added stone as a base course. Previously, it was all the vertical corrugated metal siding, but based on some comments from staff, let's give it a base here. Let's ground this project. So we've introduced stone as a base course, and we've also taken some opportunities to provide more of it along the facade as really accent pieces. You can see it here on our main corner. We raised up the stone there as well. We've added hip roofs to the ends of the building to reduce bulk plane encroachments and to reduce the overall length of the roof. That was a balancing act because yes, of course, that does reduce the roof area that you could provide photovoltaics, but we tried to balance the availability of carport A with the PVs with planning commission staff comments, sorry, not staff comments, planning commission comments to reduce the roof as well. So a little balancing act there. We've added small dormers on the upper roofs to break down the continuous eaves. Some of the nice touches, I think, we've added timber sunshades, we've adjusted the railing detailing and vertically connected window groups to add a more mountain modern aesthetic. We've added a little pop of color. That was another comment we saw, where's the pop, right? We want this thing to pop a little bit. I think it was a little too white, a little too bland before. So what we did, we listened, we came back and we've added those pops of color. As you can see it on the corner here, it's a stained wood material to a couple of the street facing units. I'd love to talk about the architecture all day. We don't have all day, but I am super excited. If you can't tell about this project, I think I can kind of echo the entire team there as well. So I'm available for any questions. Would love to talk about it with you guys. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate the presentation. We all do. We will move on to questions for the applicant. Let's start with you, Andy.
I think your mics are still muted. It looks like Town of Frisco is still muted, but I think you just threw it to me, Kelsey. I don't have any questions for the applicant, if that's where we are.
Great. Ira, questions for the applicant?
I have compliments, if you'll take those. I mean, I think and also for Katie, I want to thank you for that before and after shot. I'd like to see if we could do that more often.
Let's fix the questions right now. We'll get to discussion.
Okay. So is this just questions about architecture only?
Anything for the applicant.
So is this project going to be built in-house? Or you're going to sub it out to a builder contractor?
We don't have the answer to that yet. I would anticipate that it gets put out to bid with a contractor, but we just haven't determined any of the circumstances around financing or cost sharing.
And is this the first time that you're building housing for employees?
As the town or as CDOT?
As
Or
CDOT.
together? This would be our first time together, but both entities have developed affordable housing projects in the
And
past.
so in that same context, do you farm out management or is that in-house rental management?
We anticipate hiring a property manager for this project and for other projects in town.
Uh-huh,
Currently manage in-house.
right. All right, well, that's my question for today.
Thank you, Ira. Donna, questions for the applicant?
I have a couple questions. I don't know if they can be all answered. Is it known yet if rents will be subsidized by anything? By any program or grant or anything?
I don't have the answer for that now.
Okay. The view from Granite and Seventh, which is the last one that you brought up, it shows diagonal parking on Granite. If there's enough room for that?
So we do have a 80-foot right of way on Granite. We are in the process of working on a downtown complete streets plan that would
Right.
include a new cross-section for Granite. Is there room? Yes. Is this the final design scenario? No. So more to come on that, I guess, as part of that complete streets project.
Okay. It appears that the snow storage is very limited. I'm sure if it meets all the calculations, that's great, but it just seems like there might not be enough. If need be, would CDOT be able to remove, like if the mound got so huge, remove the snow and put it wherever you put other snow?
So we are meeting town code requirements for the amount of snow storage. If we were to exceed that requirement, I'm sure there's extenuating circumstances and the town and CDOT would work together with our property manager to make sure that we were
Okay.
maintaining the site properly.
And the new revised roof, it was originally going to be solar, and now is it still going to be solar ready?
Definitely solar ready.
Did the pitch change? Because from the elevation before, from the one perspective, it went straight and now it is pitched. But did the actual pitch of the roof change at all?
The slope didn't change. I believe it's still at a 7 to 12
Okay.
up there, but yeah, you're right. The form of it changed.
Correct.
Yep.
Okay, and then my last question, sorry. On the landscape plan, I know it's gonna be revised, but I was trying to tell, and, you know, looking at it small and with the scale and everything about, with fire, you know, safe distance between vegetation and a building. Are the trees, the minimum is 5 feet. Do we know if that it is at the minimum? That trees can't be planted closer to a building than 5 feet? And then, you know, as they get bigger, you know, that the treetops could only be 18 feet. The minimum distance. It just, there's a
talking about the
lot of
Firewise?
vegetation. And I know, again, it's a formula, but I just want to make sure that, you know, that things aren't planted too close,
Sure.
just for,
So we're still working with our landscape architect to make sure that the landscape design fits with the project and fits within town code. I will say that with the Firewise code requirements, our municipal requirements supersede them for an urban setting like this. And that's in our town, that's in their Firewise code, actually, that they, you know, cannot prevent us from installing trees because we do want to create an urban tree canopy here in Frisco. We don't want it to be, but we also want to be able to achieve some level of density with our developments. So it's kind of a balancing act, but we're going to work with Katie and our landscape architect to make sure we're both meeting town code and we're creating a good design that is, you know, water conserving as
Yeah.
well as sustainable, will survive the test of time.
thank you.
Thank you, Donna. Robert, questions for the applicant?
Yeah, Chris, can you talk about, I'm appreciative of all the changes you've made to bulk plan encroachments. But you've got one very large, I mean, of the 255 cubic feet of bulk plan encroachment, one of them is 137 cubic feet.
Side of the west building.
Yeah, can you talk about how that meets town code in sense of architecturally or? I mean,
Absolutely.
You gotta sort of convince me of this.
Right, well, hopefully I can be convincing here. I don't, so I think what you're,
Can I interrupt really quick? So what the planning commission definitely wants to take into consideration from the code, staff may approve apologize, I'm reading the wrong part. The significant architectural relief is, so basically, building forms may deviate from the standard and project beyond the bulk plane if they do not exceed maximum building height, which this doesn't, and provide substantial architectural relief. So what you want to definitely focus on is how it provides substantial architectural relief.
absolutely.
Thank you.
Yep, so right here, I think the one you're talking about is in the bottom right corner, right? That's the main one. And so what we did notice in working with the town and looking at the code, our previous, I can't see the mouse. Oh,
That mouse doesn't work.
there's 7 mice up there. Thank you. So right here, right, this used to be in plane with the first 2 stories. What we heard from Planning Commission last time is, you know, you're not convinced with the previous aesthetic of looking at that west facade. And let me go, well, right here, we go. We do have an image of it. So, and I wish I had the previous, you know, Katie's diagrams here, previous for what it is now. So it was out flush with the first and second floor with a gable roof. So not only did we not succeed at providing enough depth, you know, previously architectural relief, and that was pointed out by you guys, the commission. And we also didn't meet the bulk plane requirements. We're asking for over 300 cubic feet, right, which exceeds town code. So this modification, we set it back 2 feet. Why we didn't set it back more is because that would kill the 1-bedroom unit that's in there and bring it over to another studio. So instead of just you know, adjusting the mix that far, what we did was we moved it back 2 feet, created more architectural relief. We put a hipped roof on it, which reduces the mass of the building, right? Some more commission comments there as well. And we were able to retain that one-bedroom unit up on the third floor, which gives, obviously some square footage to a tenant there. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I struggle with it because I understand why. I also know that some builder is going to come in here next year with 137-foot bulk plane encroachment and try and convince me that we approved this one, and why aren't we approving his or hers?
Was to, reduce that from exceeding the town code bulk encroachment to being within it. So,
Second question. Are you double counting, because you're putting PV on the shed roof, right? Or on the
carport.
carport. You're not putting it on the building yet.
Well, I don't think anything's going to be delivered with the delivery. This is something that we have to talk about when, the ownership has to talk about when to deliver the PV. The roof will be ready for it and the carport will be ready to put it on.
Okay. Are you, and I didn't look carefully enough. You're not counting the roof, the carport as part of your snow storage anymore then?
No snow storage is required for underneath the carport.
Kind of when I,
But it's not counted for anything else either. The fact that you might store snow on top of the carport.
To a roof. The snow that would fall on there. We're not requiring snow storage for the building. It's just for the paved areas.
Okay.
One thing I would just add about the solar is that the building will meet our sustainable code requirements. Without solar, we are making it solar ready. We're exploring opportunities for grants and working with Excel and trying to.
I'm not sure Andy can hear you.
You hear me? He says yes.
Okay.
Just saying, we're still working out the details of the PV. Our goal is to deliver and install PV. We just haven't, it's not part of the plan. It's part of the plan and we're designing for it. We're trying to make it PV ready. We're still working out the details of how it would be funded and installed.
Okay.
So I guess two questions. What is the schedule? When are you planning on breaking ground? Don't know.
Ideally, we would love to break ground next summer.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we are working diligently together to get an agreement and to get funding just talked about. I never want to commit to anything that is still written down in pencil because
Right.
it's not written in ink. But we would like to break ground in the spring. That is what we are working towards. Will that happen? I can never say for sure.
Sure. I guess I'm just curious because it just seems like there's lots of details that haven't been worked out. But you're meeting on a weekly basis and I don't mean that in any way to sound insulting. I'm just curious as to and understanding that this is maybe not the purview of the planning commission because I'm curious as a community member, and if you don't mind just spending 2 minutes on it, what is the process moving forward to figure out some of these details? What other agreements have to be agreed upon, I guess, between CDOT and the town to make sure that this does end up being a rental workforce housing complex?
Planning approval is a key step. I'll tell you that much. Like I think Aaron mentioned earlier, our agreement with CDOT, our current contract says that we will work through 80% CDs. We will take those cost estimates and then we will negotiate. CDOT and the town are in the process of negotiating the financials behind the project. Obviously, it's expensive and there's a lot of moving parts to that. So gaining planning commission approval is a key step so that we have a project that is approved and buildable and moving on from there. Do you want to add?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things we're working through. Who's gonna own what percentage? Are we gonna do 11-11? Are we gonna do 15-7? Will there be a deed restriction on the property itself since CDOT owns it so that it stays in rental in perpetuity? Those are the things that we are talking about. I just, like I said, it's written in pencil, and until my, chief engineer, executive director, and your town mayor signs them, I can't say anything for certain. So yes, we've been talking about it for a couple of months. I think that we are all in agreement and going in a very positive direction together, but it's not signed in ink. So we can't commit to anything at this meeting that says it will happen, because you never know what could happen.
Sure, okay. But, I mean, I guess, do you have you don't have a development agreement, or you do? No, you don't.
Our only agreement that's truly signed and executed is the agreement to pursue 80% construction documents.
Okay.
And part of that is getting final site plan approval from the town. So we have a project to build.
Okay, that's all I have.
Any other questions? My only question is the town planning on using 5A money for this project?
I can only say I would assume so.
So if affordable housing money is being used, is there no tie to making that it is? I'm just curious on that connection of, if you're using money that is collected through taxes that is specifically for affordable housing, how can you apply that to an overall project that is not deed restricted?
I don't have the answer to that. Because like I said, we do not have I don't have anything concrete that I can tell you about how it's being financed. What we've been focused on to date is the design of the project, making sure it meets town code, trying to get it approved. Financing it, negotiating who's paying for what and how much it costs is kind of our next step in the process. And we will keep you guys obviously updated on that. We just don't know yet.
I have no further questions. My questions have been asked. If there are no more, we will open it up to public comment at this time. If you are a member of the public that wishes to address this agenda item, now is your opportunity. There is no members of the public here in the chambers. So if there are members of the public online, please raise your hand at this time, and we will ask you to give your comment. I am seeing none, so we'll close the public comment portion of this agenda item and move on to commissioner comments and discussion items. I just want to, we all have our varying opinions of how important housing is. We are planning commissioners. We need to stay within our purview of what we can do. If you feel that there are items that do not meet the code on this application, that is what we are addressing. We will start with you, Lynn.
Comments? Yes. I like what you've done. Where is the architect? Oh, I like what you've done with the architecture. I do think it looks better. So thank you for addressing our comments. It does look better. And I wonder, one of the questions I didn't ask you is that you added all that stone and it looks awesome, but how much did you increase the cost of the project? Because what little I know about architecture, I think that stuff's expensive. So anyway, so I don't have a problem with this project the way it's been proposed. I don't have an issue with the bulk plan encroachments or the landscaping. I'm sure that you're going to work out all those details. And I understand that we can't comment or base our decisions on anything that's outside of the requirements of the code. I just wish that this had been presented to us a little further along so that there weren't so many question marks running around in everyone's heads, but understand that it is what it is. So yeah, that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Robert. Your comments and discussion.
I think you've done a great job of listening to our comments and making changes. I think it's a desperately needed project. I'm still troubled by the idea that of that bulk plan encroachment being as large as it is. mark my words, it'll come back to bite me at some point. I do hope that we find a way to restrict this property into perpetuity. And I hear very nicely from CDOT. She did a great job of stating that. I know it's not within our purview. We are approving a whole project, however, a project that I wouldn't approve for any private developer. So I'd find a way. I know I have to live within the code, but that just needs to be on the record for me. My congratulations go to Susan, you, and to Chris, and to CDOT, and to everybody on the team. I think that it's great to get this project to this place, and I hope and pray that all the rest of the pieces fit together and that this project can break ground next summer.
Thank you, Robert. Donna?
Nice updates, updated details, the colors and the materials. I think it's a really nice mix. I'm okay with the bulk plane encroachment, the larger one, because it makes sense to the floor plan of livable space. And the second, and it's stepped back. So it is an encroachment, but it's not like it's right there. So since it's, it's kind of balanced.
Well said. Thanks.
So it looks good and we're excited.
Ira.
For the benefit of being last to say, I agree with everybody. But, okay, all right. Oh, all right. But I agree that the bulk plane, that how you addressed it and the look of it now, I mean, it looked okay before, as I said, then better than trailers. And now it looks better than an apartment house. So, my congratulations there. And also congratulations for working within the rules to get the density that you did get. I think that's key. I mean, I would feel remiss if I were approving a project between CDOT and the town for 10 units. So I'm glad you got the density that you did. If you could get more, I'm all for it. Because I think the apartments, not beat a dead horse, are needed very, very badly. And I wish you good luck, and hopefully we get this started soon, and it'll be a lesson for other people coming forward, to try to increase our rental market here. Thank you.
Thank you, Ira. Andy, you're up.
Great. Well, the benefit of going last is I get to say I agree with everybody. I do agree. I think I really appreciate the work that you guys have done since the last submittal. I think that you have come up with a much more attractive building. It's better broken up. I like the colors better. I'm okay with the bulk plane encroachments. Sorry, Robert. But I do see the need for them in these locations. I think there are a couple of spots that, just a gable poking through. I understand that. The shed roof, I don't see any habitable space really happening in that encroachment. And I think that's really kind of the main point of that. And so it's just roof and fascia. I'm okay with it. So yeah, in general, I think it's a great step in the right direction. I think you guys, congratulations getting this far. Now you got the hard part. Trying to figure out all the answers to those other questions about who's going to pay for it and how that's going to happen. I don't envy those discussions, but architecturally, I think you've come a long way and looks good. Thank you.
So officially, I am last, and I will echo the comments that you guys really did listen to us. You're held to a different standard when the town's involved, and you're under the scrutiny of the public eye. And I'm sure you know that, and that it will be interesting to see how these remaining parts come together. I really like the look of the building. I think that the site supports 22 units there. I love the idea that they're rentals. That's what we need. it's a hot button topic and I think you guys will handle it with grace. And thank you very much for taking our feedback and we wish you luck and hope to see this come to fruition. Any other final comments? Ira,
Well, thank you. I'm good.
let's see a motion.
With respect to file number MAJ 21 004, I move that the recommended findings set forth in the September 2, 2021 staff report be made, and that the recommended conditions set forth therein be taken, and that the planning commission hereby approves the request for a major site plan application for the proposed new multifamily project located at 619 Granite Street / lot 18 through 24, block 2, block 12, Frisco Town Site Subdivision.
Second. Sure, would you take vote, please?
Commissioner Withrow,
Yes.
Commissioner Scupion,
Yes.
Yes.
Tate,
Yes.
Commissioner Lesbos. Yes. Commissioner Stabile,
Yes.
Trying to
Motion
keep it.
passes. Congratulations. We look forward to it and happy talks for y'all. We will close that agenda item and move on to staff and commissioner updates.
Carol, you were just trying to keep us on our toes by
Yeah, I
moving everybody
really-
around.
I didn't mean to put that on.
Who's Whitwell?
That's yours, pick my spot.
Yes.
Looks like it's been, I don't know, months since we've
It
seen
has
you
been
guys.
months. Bill, what do you got for us?
Months. At least the summer's worth of time. So I'll just hit a couple quick things real quick. We will be having a meeting on the 16th. We expect the Storm King project from over on 3rd and Frisco Street to be coming to you guys for a final review. So just have it on your calendars. If you have. You do have Amy Nikos and
Oh,
Abby
yeah,
Plain.
yeah, yeah.
Third in Frisco?
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Was that the name of the wholesale before? It was called Storm King? No.
That's the new development.
Yeah.
that's the ownership group today. Yeah. So we anticipate them coming to you on the 16th. So just mark that in your calendar. You do have another meeting. The promenade, I don't know if everybody saw the press releases on those. That will be coming down on the morning of the 13th. However, businesses will have the opportunity to have parklets throughout the winter, but Main Street itself will be open.
Is there a good amount of feedback on that, or people
Uh,
actually gonna go through with that, or?
We've gotten a couple of responses already. We're asking businesses to get back to us by next week. So that we can let Public Works know over the weekend who wants to keep a parklet and which parklets are getting hauled away. So
And is the promenade coming back next year or is that up to?
that's gonna be up to town council. I think they've got some work session topics coming up in the next couple meetings. And that'll be one of the topics. There might also be some input on that once we start the Main Street, the Marina to the Mountains plan. That's kind of being talked about as well, but no definitive answers yet.
Bill, may I ask a
Yeah.
question? So if the businesses are going to keep parklets for the winter, is there a way that the town can mandate that they actually take care of them and shovel them? Because last year it was, I mean, it was pretty dangerous. And, you know, come on, they're not only that big. So that would be my only,
Different businesses did different degrees of maintenance. But I believe it is their obligation. I'll certainly pass that along.
A question. And you probably can't say much about it yet, but with the sale of and the closing of the log cabin, there've been, having known the owners, there've been statements made that said that the building's gonna stay.
It's Sugar Moon Rise and Shine. Didn't you see it in the paper?
I saw that, but how do they know that already? Since we haven't seen anything come forward to us and nobody's gonna pay $2 million for a piece of property for that restaurant right there.
We've had some preliminary conversations with the new owners of the property. But nothing formally has been submitted to us at this point in time. It's our understanding that their intent is to keep the business, that building in place. Operate a restaurant out of there sooner than later. But they've got some other concepts for the rest of the property that they're working through, but nothing definitive at this time and nothing formally submitted.
What's the density?
We've
You
all
answered
quoted
so many
it so many
questions.
times and I'm drawing a blank.
This-
We've all quoted it so many times.
Is it
Does
four?
that
I had
pro-
5 in my head.
We have 4 or 5 in our head.
does that property go all the way to where the kind of well, it goes to the alley and back, but on the side, does it come closer to Loaf and Jug where that concrete barrier is?
Yeah, if you look closely in the middle of the lot, you'll see the edge of Loaf and Jug's concrete or asphalt. excuse me.
Right.
That is the property.
That's what I thought.
There's-
Okay.
There's some stakes out there that are pretty close to like the little storage shed for Loaf and Jug in the back. So as you're standing on Main Street looking at it, a good portion of that driveway is actually log cabin property.
That's what I thought. I've been looking at it and I'm missing my restaurant already.
I was so bummed. I was like, wow, this is the end of an era. But Kevin's been here as long as I can remember.
Yeah, go right ahead.
So back to parklets. If, are there limitations as to what a business can do with them in terms of, could they put a wall, could they put a roof? I mean, are there limitations with the parklets?
I believe there are some, they're spelled out in the agreements that they're obligated to sign. I can't quote you what those are off the top of my head, but there are limitations, say like on the amplified sound and how they use it, how they maintain it. But it's not just a free for all.
Now, I was just wondering, if to make it more comfort for winterization, that's where I was looking at. I don't want to be wearing my mammut for, for food.
The other thing that we've got starting and just kicking off, I want to have Susan just give you a little update on the complete streets planning process, as that's something that's just getting kicked off.
Yeah, so we, building off of the community input and the sketches that were in the mobility element of your community plan that we updated in 2019, we have engaged the services of a transportation planning engineering firm. They are going to, we had a kickoff meeting. Andy Stabile volunteered to be your representative. We held a kickoff meeting last week and we're embarking on a complete streets plan for the downtown core. So mainly we're looking at Granite, Galena, the numbered avenues, as well as the alleys. So on September 21st, 22nd, 23rd, mark your calendars. We're having a design charrette, a 3-day design charrette. So there'll be open design studio time during the Tuesday and Thursday, the 21st and 22nd of that week. And we would love it if you could take a few minutes to come by. It's an open studio. They'll have out maps and drawings. They would love for you to share information, knowledge, ideas about a little bit. It's a little bit smaller scale. It'll be held at First and Main. And so it'll be two architect designers, engineer and a designer, kind of around a table where you can kind of have some direct contact and share your thoughts. So
You'll send that to us?
I'll send you an official written invite. And then on the third day, we'll have a public presentation that kind of shares the findings of the previous 3 days. So on that Thursday, September 23rd, location TBD. We don't know quite yet.
And
This
is
is-
that separate from what Andy did, or what Bill just mentioned with Maine to Marina or whatever?
Really different, yeah.
That plan would be an even larger scale master plan. So the one Susan's talking about is mostly infrastructure focused. Right? Design of the street and the street circulation patterns, traffic patterns, those types of things. The other plan that's been discussed is broader in context and would get into things like land use. Just an example that came up like 2 years ago or so was, should we allow real estate offices on the first floor? I mean, it's just one topic. Are there changes we need to make to our zoning regulations in terms of bulk plans, density, those types of things?
Some historic.
Exactly. What are some of the long-term? Some of you may have heard some of those Excelsior mind building discussions the council was having. What to do with that historic building? Is there a place in the Main Street corridor that would fit into? How do you think it's still in storage at this point in time? Just how are things evolving now that CDOT is working on their GAP project? How's that going to influence our Main Street? It's a much broader scope of work.
TBD. No, we issued an RFP for that plan before COVID. but we never awarded the contract. So we've kind of, just like this downtown complete streets plan, we will probably revisit the scope for that Main Street plan. And it's still kind of in progress. We haven't released an RFP. We haven't taken that next step yet.
So on the floor plan, you aren't gonna look at Main Street or the connectivity between Main and the marina.
We'll look at all of the connectivity, but we're taking the GAP project for what it is. It's built. It's probably not going to change in the near future. And we're also taking Main Street kind of for what it is in terms of the infrastructure that was put in place as part of the Step Up Main Street
Yeah.
project. So we're not proposing big changes in those areas, but we are proposing the best ways to tie into the existing infrastructure from Granite Galena and the avenues.
And is that plan that's just talked about gets further evolved? We do plan to bring that to the planning commission so you guys can provide input, make a recommendation. to the council, And come and have it be at a formal meeting for you guys. So please come to the sessions Susan mentioned, but you also have that more formalized review input opportunity as well.
On that hotel remodel,
Is that because that was, I was gonna ask, because that property was in the paper a while back, that it was, the Baymont, that it was sold. Was it resold?
I think it's sold again this summer. They intend to redevelop it again as a hotel. do some more remodeling. I don't know, have you heard?
I don't think they revealed in their, they submitted a demo plan for interior renovations, and I don't think they revealed exactly who it will be.
We've been seeing lights on inside, so I've been
Yeah,
assuming
everyone
that that's
has
what they're doing.
They're to be working on it.
So,
And what is the hold up with the Vinnie's building? What the old, what is that called? Winter Marketplace?
Winter Plaza.
Winter Plaza?
I don't know. It's on their timeline. I
Is it-
believe we've issued
Do they have
permits,
a
right?
building
Have we?
permit?
they have permit.
They have submitted a building permit, but they've been issued, I don't think they've been issued a building permit.
is there discussion of adding to the code that you have to complete a project in a timeline? I mean, this is
We-
absurd. We've
We
got
have
a whole
that in
thing
our
on.
code, but the timeline is 4 years.
Okay.
Fairly generous timeline.
We gotta have a shorter timeline.
Yeah, I mean, is there discussion of revising that down the road? Because, I mean, every person I see asks me, what's with the hole I'm making? Is that forever? And you're
And
like,
especially since in the paper, there was a really nice article, about that. Which then leads me to, well, in October of 2018, Foot was supposed to start the project. So if he's supposed to start this fall, then why aren't even the cabins moved? The last time I asked a couple of months ago, that there was not a location specifically where to move the cabins. Well, is there?
I don't know if there hasn't been an official proposal made to us yet.
It's crazy.
I believe he has one more year on that approval. I believe he got a 1-year extension that was allowed by the town code for town staff to approve. So it's our understanding they're working with, I believe it's Marriott, and are nearing completion of the internal process. So there's a long design review process that they have to go through with the hotel chain to make that work. And it sounds like they're still in negotiations of finalizing those plans. They've told us that they expect to submit updated building permit plans here this fall still, and they're still targeting next year for construction.
Interesting sign permit discussion. Marriott has, I'm not sure Marriott signs would necessarily fit into town code center code very well.
No, yeah.
Any other projects or questions or? I guess one request of you guys, if you would remember to take down those public notice signs. Because I've noticed a couple of times that they're out there, they're like faded, they're like years old.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, the applicants actually put most of those up. Of course,
Oh,
it's not
really?
Town staff that puts them up, so.
I used to
We'll
do
find a
that when I
reminder.
worked at the
I
town.
used to have a reminder, and then the town code changed, so now it's their responsibility. but we-
Oh,
But there's
okay.
no reason why we can't email them the day after the hearing and ask them. to take it
Yeah,
down.
I mean,
That's a good point. I've noticed it a lot too, and just.
Yeah.
Move we adjourn.
second,
On favor?
Thanks, everybody. Good night.